To start a pod using VERIGO's mobile app, users now have the option of choosing from 3 different methods according to their needs. Now we will show you how to configure and activate a device using the possible methods in VERIGO's system. Users have the ability to activate a device using one of the following methods: default button press, configure plus activate now, remote start using the VERIGO mobile app, and button press using pre-configured settings. In this guide, we will show you how to activate pods using the pre-configure settings for future use method via button press. By using the pre-configure settings for future use method, users can write settings to their pod now, but start the pod with those saved settings at a later date. One way to start the pod at a later date is via the button press method, where users simply hold down the Bluetooth button on the pod for 5 seconds, then release. To start a pod with a button press, users first log in to the VERIGO mobile app and click on the Start Pod tab. Next, click the Pre-configure Settings for Future Use button. This screen shows users the characteristics they can write to their pods. Session Name gives the user the option to name the pod. Users can input a custom text name or scan a barcode to declare a session name. Logging interval is how often the pod will log a data point. Estimated logging duration is how long the pod can log for in this session given the current logging interval. The longer the logging interval, the longer the logging duration. Inversely, the shorter the logging interval, the shorter the logging duration. Estimated logging duration is based on the assumption that the pod has full battery and 40,000 data points are available. Logging delay allows the user to decide whether they want the logger to start immediately with no delay or to write in a specific delay time. Users can delay for 20 minutes, write their own custom delay, or decide a specific time and date for the logger to start automatically. Next is the Alert Settings section. This section allows users to be alerted if thresholds during the monitoring session are breached. Users can write upper and lower alarm thresholds for temperature by using the low temp alarm limit and high temp alarm limit. Users can also write upper and lower alarm thresholds for the humidity settings by using the low RH alarm limit and high RH alarm limit. Finally, Alert After gives the user the ability to determine how long the pod can log data for outside of the alarm limits. For example, if the alarm limit is set to 10 minutes, the pod will not raise an alarm until the pod has recorded 10 aggregate minutes of time spent outside of the written alarm limits. Next, the user has an option of writing advanced settings. High-resolution logging enables the pod to record a data point if temperature changes by more than 0.5 degrees Celsius or if humidity changes by more than 3% relative humidity. These logs are taken in addition to the regular logging interval set in the logging details section above. Note: using high-resolution logging will generate large data sets and may increase the amount of time it takes to download data logs. After you have written the settings you wish to configure, click the arrow in the top right corner of the screen to proceed to the next screen. Next, click the Bluetooth button on the pod you wish to configure. By pressing the Bluetooth button, the pod will appear highlighted yellow. To be sure the pod is the one you'd like to configure, make sure to match the MAC address shown on the screen to the one shown on the back of the pod. Click the pod that you'd like to configure. On the final screen, review the settings that will be written to the pod and click the Configure Settings button at the bottom when you are ready. After the settings have been successfully configured, a dialog box will appear signifying the configuration. Note: the pod is active but is not logging yet. It is now up to the user to activate their pod manually via button press when they are ready to start logging. When the time comes to activate, simply hold down the Bluetooth button for 5 seconds and release. A chime will ring, signifying that the pod has started logging.